looking to the domestic side, I think focusing in the Gulf in particular, I would say a lot of people have a question about succession. Do we really have a clear roadmap of succession in the Gulf? And I will always say, if you're an outsider, you tend to be worried. If you're an insider and you live with that every day, you don't be. I mean, you do not intend to be worried, because then you understand it. You see that King Fahd has his son in position. King Abdullah has his son in position at the royal court. Mohammed bin Zayed was functioning in Abu Dhabi as a crown prince. So the second generation and the third generation from the royal family are still there, and they are surviving, and they're working, and they're being trained under the guidance of their fathers or uncles or so. So we don't see it really as a major threat there in the region. Maybe somebody will say, but you have an aging ruler. I will say yes. But if I have an aging ruler who's still in functionality good, I mean, King Abdullah started most of his reforms planned in Saudi Arabia after the age of 80, and he still was fine. Today, maybe he does have a surgical problem in his back, maybe there are some health condition for the crown prince, but the country is still there. And look at, by the way, a country like Egypt. You have no president, you have a transition military council, but yet the three key institutions are still functioning. You have the military, the judiciary, and the bureaucracy. They're all in place, which is absolutely amazing, seeing a country like that, and these three still functioning. The road is still fine, the train is still functioning, the electricity, the water, so all that's still in functioning place. So the succession, it's an issue for a lot of people, even some of the people inside the Gulf region. The demand in Oman was simply for two things. Tell us who's the crown prince, and tell us if you die, who's going to replace you. Maybe in Bahrain it's quite clear, in Kuwait it's quite clear, in some area it's clear, in some areas not clear. But succession has been there, so there is a sort of an internal threat from within the family, the divisioning, the dividing within the family, and also from the outside the family to the political system, challenging the political system. Do we have a question of legitimacy there in the region? Yes, there are some opposition, there are some people, but if I count the opposition, the number of opposition, and the number in support of the regime, whom they wanted the regime to continue with great reforms. What we are talking about it in the region, it's more of I would call good governance. That is what the people demanding. They want to see a transparency, accountability, rule of law. They want to see a fair distribution of wealth. They want to see a good judiciary system. This is the primary demand from the people. Very seldom. This is why the uprising was not there, with the exception of Bahrain. And Bahrain, I will touch more into it in the Q&A side. It's not a national movement. It's really a sectarian issue that have taken place between two divisioning and two people there. Yes, there is a different position of some people. Yes, there is a demand for reform. Yes, the Kingdom of Bahrain should do the reform. But still, it is not a real national movement demanding the withdrawal of the King of Bahrain. So this is the first important, one of the big challenges that we have on the region there. Then we have what we call the demography. Demography it's a key issue. Alone in Saudi Arabia, there's 11.5 million expatriates with their family living in Saudi Arabia out of 27 million. But if you look at a country like UAE, more than 80% expatriates living there. So the whole question of demography, youth, where do they stand, in that situation, country again like Bahrain, Qatar, almost now they're getting into the same ratio between 80 to 90% it's a non-local. Did that represent a threat in the past? No. Is it going to represent a threat in the future? We need to address that. We need to look at that one. Do we need to import more? For instance, the largest Indian community outside India is in Saudi Arabia. We have 1,950,000 Indian in Saudi Arabia. So that's the largest Indian community outside India. If you look at the whole Gulf, is about 5.2 million. And that's a large number. Do they intend to spend the rest of their life there? No. Most of them, they want to finish the war, get paid, make a good reserve, go back home, build their house, find their local job, and do it. Ask a lot of them, they have no intention of staying, because for them, this is not the best weather environment, not the best weather condition. They need to be close to home. They have this sense of belonging and all of that issue. So demography, youth, it's a big issue which will also need to be addressed. Job creation. it's strange to see that there is a 10% unemployment in Saudi Arabia, and there is a 26% unemployment in the women educated, graduated women there. But that's a problem, yes. We've produced a lot. We have 1 million in the universities now. We have 23 universities in Saudi Arabia, 130,000 students outside. In the US alone, almost like between 40 to 45,000, the estimated number that today is here, 14,000 in Canada, almost around 22,000 in UK. All of the students, they're going to go back and ask for a job. Have we built up enough job for them? When they come back, that they get into that one. I think that's a big challenge there, because somehow, the free market equation, made it quite difficult. You can get easy, cheap labor from Asia, compare it to the local expensive one. But again, the government in the region as a whole and ministers of labor in the region as a whole are trying to work out some of the serious solution for that, and what to do and how to overcome this by job creation, by supporting small and medium-sized businesses, by endorsing a special soft loan to start the businesses, and so by making a special preference for them, and so this issue, of course, is one of the filtering down in the economy. Yes, we spent a huge project. Saudi Arabia very much committed to the US economy, and today, in fact, yesterday we've heard the Saudi governor of central bank saying, yes, we are not worried about the US debts. We remain committed to the dollar. We're not going to shift from the dollar. But also remember that they also have several other things they have committed to. We still sell the dollar, or we still sell the oil in dollar. We deposited at the T-bill, the US T-bills. Alone, Saudi, they reserve more than 540 billion, most of it here in the US alone. We have not agreed to cooperate with anybody against the US economy, not to create another equation, formula with the Russian or with the Chinese, and so we remain committed to the US in that side. Also, we have decided to spend $200 billion in domestic development, and most of it will go to a lot of the U.S. company. There is a request for almost $90 billion updating the defense system in Saudi Arabia by the Air Force and the air defense system and some of the land force, and this will go most of it to the U.S. economy. So, we remain committed, as that. And also all other countries in the Gulf, they have a similar policy when it comes toward the U.S. But the government today realized by building a huge project, not necessarily filter down as the people wanted, So they need to find, and they're working in finding out a formula how this big, huge project will filter down more into the people, how people will benefit from that. Housing is another issue. And when the king came back from his surgery in New York, back to Saudi Arabia, he said, we're going to build a new 500,000 houses. We're going to increase the loan, the soft loan to the people. There was a big financial package and reward to the people. They were happy. Will that make them forget about their political right? No. Are we immune in the region from whatever happened in the other Arab country? No. Don't get me wrong in that. Yes, maybe we have a different situation. Maybe we are not vulnerable like the others. Maybe we still have enough cushion to deal with, but this does not mean that we do not have to deal with the reforms issue, with the development issues, with the people demand, that it is there in terms of education, health, housing, and all other domestic requirements.